Solving the Königsberg Bridge problem in 1736, Leonhard Euler laid the foundation for the mathematical graph theory. However, nodes and edges have long been used for the representation of entities and their relations. My name is Andreas Kuczera, and when I studied physics and history, graphs only played a role as mind maps. Today, I'm working for the project Register Imperii with a focus on the development of new methods in the digital humanities. About 5 years ago, I came across graph databases, which have not let me go since then. For those of you who have never come into contact with graphs before, graphs are like living mind maps in which things and their relations can be structured and stored pictorially. Such graphs are very well suited for modeling and analyzing highly connected data, and humanities research data are highly connected. Here is an example graph in which an employee is assigned to a company, and this company is assigned to a city. It is important to stress that additional information is stored as well in the nodes as well in the edges. That's why this type of graph is called labeled property graphs. Nodes and edges can have additional properties. In my presentation, I will show how graphs concept give new insights in highly connected research data from projects like Commentaria in Aristotelem, Graeca et Byzantina. First, I will give a short overview over the CAGB project. Then I will explain our graph model. After that, we will do some live queries on the graph database. And then we will have a conclusion. Aristotle, probably the most influential philosopher of antiquity, was not only influential in antiquity but also in the Greek Middle Ages. The documents of this Byzantine Aristotle reception are, however, only known to a small extent. The long-term project CAGB works on the critical edition of late antique and especially Byzantine sources and on the reception of Aristotle works. The editions and the sources collections of the CAGB are intended to provide the base for the study of the reception of ancient philosophy and in general the history of Byzantine culture and education. Here we have the website of the project, and this website has 3 different approaches to the sources. First of all, we have the Aristotle works here in this tab. All in all, we have 48 entries to Aristotle works. Then we have the manuscripts in which these Aristotle works are transmitted to us. And then we have the persons in their different roles as owners, scribes, or commentators of these manuscripts. We will take one Aristotle work, De Coloribus, as an example. And we can see here that we have 27 different manuscripts of this work. And if we click on a manuscript, maybe I can, you can see details about the manuscript. This is from Florence, from the Bibliotheca Ricardiana. Then here we have the different Aristotle works appearing covered in this manuscript. Then we have informations about paper, watermarks, the folios. And then we have provenance information, so who owned this book. For example, we have here Martelli Hugolinus, born in Florence Then 1533, the manuscript came to France with Maria de Medici, and in 1572 it was owned by the Bishop of Glandel. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. The CAGB works with the edition software Ediarum. The research software Ediarum provides tools for entering, managing, and presenting digital editions. The software is developed at the Berlin-Brandenburg Academy of Science and Humanities, and it allows transcribing, marking, and commenting historical texts as well as linking the individual text with other texts and indexes. The technical base is an XML oxygen framework in connection with a native exist.xml database. This software is highly configurable, and at the moment the Berlin-Brandenburg Academy of Science is developing the unified web framework for Ediarum. This is developed to support the creation of web publications of digital editions from Ediarum through a sustainable API. By using this unified web framework, all features contained in it and those developed in the future will benefit the digital editions published with it. Already existing functionalities include the display and filtering of individual texts and index entries of a digital edition, as well as access to data and metadata via interfaces. With this, research data can then be exported into JSON format, which is suitable for an import into graph databases. Here you can see a screenshot of the Ediarum interface of the CAGB. And all these buttons up here are customized especially for this project. Our academy in Mainz uses Ediarum for various other projects for transcription and edition. Additional informations can be found on the Ediarum website, where you can find other projects who use Ediarum. Now we will have a look at the graph. Just close all these windows here. So, for the graph modeling of the project data, we use the graph database Neo4j. Neo4j can be downloaded for free at neo4j.com. There is a community edition which is open source, and an enterprise edition which is for big business stuff, and you have to pay for. But for our purposes, the community edition is completely okay, and there are no issues with our amount of data. Neo4j provides a web interface, so you can reach this administration interface via web browser. And here up on the left you get a new side menu where you get an overview of what's in the graph database. Here we can see that we have artwork, notes, manuscripts, and persons. So these are the list of notes in the database, and here, these are the different types of notes in the database. And here below you can see all different relationship types called edges. And as you can see, we have author, annotator, author attested, and so on. So if we click here on this artwork node, we get a bunch of 25 nodes of type artwork. And if we do a double click on such an artwork, we get all manuscripts which cover this Arist work. So in these manuscripts, this work of Aristotle is mentioned, or it contains part of it. Okay. So when I do further clicking here on the notes, I get additional notes, and here I get a person. This is more an exploratorial approach. If you click on the notes, you get all connections and all other nodes which are connected to this node. But if you want to do concrete queries, it's useful to use the Cypher query language of Neo4j. And I have prepared a small query here, and I will explain it in a second. So this is Cypher query language, and Cypher tries to model the search graph pattern via SKRs. So these two brackets here symbolize a node, and the query says, okay, find me match a node A of type Arist work where a.label is decoloribus, and return everything you have found. And a.label is a property of this node here, and this property should have this value. Okay, if I run this query, okay, here I have the node, and if I do my double click, okay, I get all the manuscripts, and the manuscripts are connected in between. So, and if I do other clicks, okay, it goes on. So now how can I do this directly in Cypher? I just add an edge here of type enthält. That means contains, and then here I add a node of type manuscript. So, and here you can see what I mean with SKRs. So this is a node, and this is an edge between this node, and this edge should be of type contains, enthält auf Deutsch. And here you have the manuscript node. And here we have the drill down that this node should only be decoloribus. Okay, let's start the query. And here we have the result. Okay, here we have the Arist work, and here we have all the manuscripts. And now we can go one step further and ask, okay, who are the owners? Oops. I think the edge must go in the other direction, from the manuscript to the owner. Person. Okay. The other way around. Okay. So here we can now see the owners of the manuscripts of decoloribus. And here you can see the different roles a person can have: annotator, owner, patron, scribe, and so on. Okay. Now we go one step further and ask, which are the manuscripts these people own as well? I have to go here, add another own edge, owner edge, to manuscript 2 of type manuscript. Okay, and here we can see this person has many manuscripts. Here we have decoloribus, And the other persons, yeah, they have less, but this person was quite active about his manuscripts. Okay. Okay, so this is how the concept works. The first export was only very limited. We plan to do a more detailed export of all the data, of all this additional data we have seen about the manuscripts. Okay. Okay, here we have done this. Okay, we have done this as well. And this as well. So, okay, if you have a look at this visualization, it's nice for an overview, but if you need hard facts, it's not very easy to count all of these nodes and how many they are. And that's why I wanted to show you another approach where you can return lists in Neo4j or tables. Here, this is a result of an example query where the question was which person has access to which Aristotle works and to how many of them. And here we can see that Giorgio Valla has access to these Aristotle works. It's the sum of 13. Albertus Pius has only 12. If we would try to answer these questions on a traditional way, it would take quite a long time. Because first, you have to list all different manuscripts containing which Aristotle works, and as we have seen, there is the possibility that a manuscript can contain different Aristotle works, and this is quite a lot of work. And in a graph with a graph database, the result is only a small query away. Okay. Here I have another visualization. The question here was which persons in blue, all the person nodes are blue, have access to the works De Interpretatione, De Anima, and Physica. De Interpretatione is this one here, De Anima is here, and Physica is here. And the manuscripts nodes are the small red ones. And if we have a close look, we have tried to visualize it a little bit. So here is the anima, and in the blue circle, all people are in who have access to the anima. Then here in the brown circle, all people are in who have access to De Interpretatione. And here below, we have a green circle where we can see all people who have access to the Aristotle work Physica. And as you can see, only 3 persons have access to all 3 Aristotle works together. And answering this question with a traditional approach with pencil and paper takes really quite a long time, and you must have a lot of knowledge. With a graph database, it's very easy to find out. I come to the conclusion. The enrichment of text with context via indexes and comments is a central aspect of editions. The data itself is based on research work on the sources which requires a great deal of background knowledge. And the graphs give us a chance to save more of this background knowledge. Exploring this knowledge via graphs gives better insights into the data. The new API for JSON export opens up new possibilities. The graph-based analysis reproduce the context depicted in the sources and present them together and connected. They are not to be seen as a contrast to previous research practice, but as a further development of existing methods. In this way, they help to evaluate, contextualize, and classify the individual sources and the corpus as a whole. And at the end, I will come back to the Königsberg Bridge problem and what it all was about. The river Pregel flows through Königsberg, which is today known as Kaliningrad. At the lifetime of Euler, there was an island in the city area, and afterwards the river split up. Here you have this island, and afterwards the river splits. The Königsberg citizens built 7 bridges to easily reach all parts of the city. Here you have the 7 bridges. The inhabitants asked themselves if it was possible to walk through the city and cross all bridges exactly once. Euler realized that the problem could also be solved by replacing land areas with points and bridges with connections between these points. Here you have the land areas in green and the bridges in yellow, and if you change it, you receive this graph. Here the blue nodes are the land areas and the edges are the bridges. In 1736 he proved that such a way, or Eulersche way, was not possible in Königsberg, because an odd number of bridges led to all 4 shores, areas or islands. He solved this by transferring the problem into an abstract graph. Maybe this might be a key for us in the future too. Thank you for your attention.